Okay, let's get started. We want to work with databases. We want to at least know what is coming up. We also need to see some of the concepts or the content that we'll be working with. So let me have a few notes for what we are to expect. Okay, so database exam. We have 5 questions where question 1 deals with creating an ERD diagram with all entities and relationships. This is question 1. Question 2 deals with creating tables and their attributes. So this basically is your tables. So example would be a table called customer with attributes that deal with the customer. Question 3 deals with our normalization. From first, second, and third. With an example. Question 4 deals with terms. So creating, updating, deleting a table. Question 5 deals with a diagram that you need to explain what you see. Total 100 marks. Like that. So that's the setup or the layout of our exam. But we also want to work with our normalization. And we need to at least specify what each element should be doing or what each element should do. So we would want to work on, within this video, some of the concepts that would need to specify and also work until we get a database. So the first things first, we need to use some of the concepts that we have learned or use some of the concepts that we have learned and apply them within a specific range of elements that we need to work with. So let me just open a few elements that we'll need. And these elements would then be some of the contents that we want to work with. So we are saying if we go back to some of the content that we've looked at so far, we have said we've got content that we would need to draft to come up with a database. So each of the elements that we would want would first need to get the entities. So each entity affects the next entity. So for example, if we take the video club database, we are saying in this video club we need a customer, we need a rental, we need a movie, we need a rental fee, we also need a duration of rental. Okay, so some of these elements or some of these attributes will then be what we need to create. And as we are creating this, we can be able to actually work with our ER diagram. So some of the things that follow under our customer are as follows. So we need a customer ID, we need a customer name, we need a customer surname, we need an address, we need a phone number, and we also need an email address. At the same time, we now need to have a rental ID and our rental. We need a foreign key, which is our customer ID. We need a rental fee. We need a penalty fee. We need a movie, or rather we need a rental title. Okay. We're also then saying outside of this we need the movie ID, we need the title, we need the days rented. At the same time, we need a rental fee. We need a movie rented. We need customer ID, right? We need also rented date. We need movie rented. We also need a customer ID. So, given this, we can now be able to safely say we've got our information as we should have it within a database. So this is one way of actually creating a database. So we're working with the entities, we are creating our entities, we are creating what we want to see within our database, and then this then becomes something we will create or we will work on until we get to the final output, which is our database and how we will work. So let's get into creating this database, and we will then improve some of the content that we've got. But at the same time, we've also said we wanted to normalize. And to normalize, we need to have some sort of data that helps us to actually work with our database. So given this, we can have a database that is not normalized because it doesn't have any data in it. But we can create based on how we've worked with our entities, and we've created our entities to come up with whatever it is that we would have come up with. So let's get into creating our database first, and then we'll get into normalization at the next element. So what we want to do is we want to go to our localhost. Our localhost, we then want to create a database for this information. So we can go to create database, and then we want to give a name to our database. So we can say DB Club, DB Video Club. Okay. We click on Go, and then we've created our database. At the same time now, we still want to work with creating our tables. So the first element we want to work with is our, let's say, duration of rental. So I'll just copy that, and then we come to our SQL, and then we want to have the following. We want to have, this is for the duration of the rental. So we want movie rented, we want the customer ID, and we want to create a table. So these are the elements we want to work with. So we would want, let me just copy this again. Undo, format. Okay, I was hoping that it would give us table, and then we want the name of the table, which would be rental details. Where we then want the following. Actually, let's do it the other way. Let's do it the other way so that it's actually faster. So we want a video club. We want how many elements? We want 3 elements, which is rented date, movie rented, and customer ID. So we want 3 elements, and we say rental details. We click on Go. want a rented date. Rented date. Movie title, and then we want a customer ID. Okay, so this we then make that a date. This we make it a variable character. This we make it an int. Okay, so this we can't put a figure. 200. We put 11. Okay, and then we click on save, and then we have actually created our rental details. So this particular table will now replace what we've got there, which is duration of rental, and we've actually called it rental details. So let's just update this side. Details like that. I think I went a bit too fast, because if I come back to my creation of the table, now I can't go back because we've already created it. Let's create another element. So we want to create the customer. The customer, we said the customer has the following. Has a customer ID, customer name, surname, address, phone number, and email. Okay. So let's go to, new. We then say this is a customer, and we want a customer ID. We want a name. We want a surname. We want an address. We need to add a few columns. Let's add 3. We need a phone. We need an email. We need a movie title. So this becomes 11. We'll make that not now, and this is a primary key. We make that a variable character, and this becomes 200. We also make that a variable character. This becomes 200. We make that a variable character. Make that 400. Variable character. We make that 100. Email, variable character. We make that 100 as well. Movie title. We make that 200 character. So what this then means, after doing all of this, we can safely say we've got our table. So if you go to preview SQL, this is what we wanted to do. We wanted to be able to create this, but in a simpler manner, where when we are using the default settings, we can actually be able to create our table this way. Let me maybe also take note of our creation process. This is how I'll create, right? And we then come to our database. We click on save. Okay, incorrect prefix key. The used key is in a string and is longer than the part. Okay, so we can actually correct that this way. We remove the primary key and we save so that we can have our table work. And then we want to then set this as a primary key. So what this then means is our customer ID now becomes the primary key. So at the same time, we can also see this. This is also one option of actually working with our changes to our table. So we can actually alter the table that way. So it then means we can actually change our table to give a different platform or attribute to whatever it is that we are working with. The next table we want to work with is a rental table, where we are saying we want a rental ID, we want a customer ID, we want a rental fee, we want a penalty fee, we want a rental title, or yes, whatever we have rented. So let's create another table, which can be rental. But we may have a bit of a challenge, because we've got rental details and we've got rental. We then need to specify what the difference between the two elements is. So let's get our rental ID, rental fee, penalty fee, rental title. So we want a rental ID, rental title, customer ID, rental fee, and penalty fee. Rental fee, and a penalty fee. Okay. This will become a variable character. This remains as an int. This becomes a currency. Okay, we can make it a float. Penalty fee, we also make it a float. At the same time, we need to give a size for each of these elements. Customer ID will be 11, rental fee will be 10, this will also be 10. We scroll down and we save. If we've done that properly, we should be able to have our rental. And then we want to also change that and make that the primary key. So if you remember, we've also got our SQL, as we can see up there. The next element we want is our movie. Our movie has a movie ID, a title, and a days rented. So we create another table. So it's a movies, where we have our movie ID, our title, and our days rented. Movie ID, title. I think we can also put the type of movie and day rented. need that to be a date. We need that to be a variable character. We need that to be a variable character. That can be int, that's fine. This can be 200. This can be 200. This we can leave like that. We can preview that to see if everything is okay. I think we are good to go. Let's also paste that here. Right, we need to change this and make that the primary key. And then let's see what else we've got. No, not there. We want a rental fee. Rental fee now. Is a repetition of this. So we might actually not need it because it's repeating some of the things that we've got. So let's actually just maybe work with the contents that we've got. So we want to, let's say we want a specific customer, or we want to enter customers. So let's enter some information with our customers. The first we want is a customer name, which can be Paul as the first name, Walker as the last name, address is 54 13th Street, Southampton, we would want a phone number, which can be 011-29293-091. Okay. We still need to enter more. We need an email, which can be pw2022 at yourmail.co.zw. We need a movie title, which can be Titanic, and that can be the first element that we want. As you can also see, we've got our insert statement. So that is how we do our insert statement. And we insert into our database. So we now have the first customer, which is Paul, and then his surname is Walker, and then the movie title is Titanic. At the same time, we can also insert another customer, whereby our customer can be Bridget, the surname, the address, okay, the phone number, we also need the next element, which is the email. And then the movie title can be Hitch, like that. We can go. So already as it stands now, we can now safely say we've got our customer. But we've got a bit of a challenge. let's say this person has rented more than one movie. This does not actually give us that information. We then now need to say, with our movies, we need to have the title of the movie, the element that we classify it, which is the genre, and then the date rented. So let's say right now we've got Titanic, and then this is romance. We need a day rented, which can be, for example, that day. Okay, we click on go. Okay, we've got one element that's missing, which is the movie ID. Okay, so let's click on go, and then we're good to go. So now we've got our movie, which is Titanic, and it's a romance, and the date was rented. The other movie we've got is Hitch, and we also need a day that it was rented. So we go to number 2, put the Hitch. It's a romance. We need a date that it was rented. We click on go, and then we are good to go. So now we have our movie. So, given this, we now need to specify what the movies and the customers have in common, which is where we are getting to the rental, right? So we need to get the rental ID, we need to have the rental title, we need to have the customer ID, we need to have the rental fee, and we need to have the penalty fee, if there is a penalty fee. So the movie we've got is Titanic, and it was rented on the 6th day of October 2022. So we now need to get to our to our rental, and then we can state that this was rented on a specific ID. We need the title of the movie, and we need the day. I think the day is there. No, we don't have the day, so we actually need to edit this table. So we can go to our rental, right? And then we need to change. Okay, so we need to add a column, and then we want a date rented. This becomes a date, and then we click on save. So no, I think I made a mistake. It's just a repetition with this. So let's actually remove that one. Okay, so having done that, we've actually deleted our table, or rather we've deleted a column within our table. So we want to insert information into our movies. Okay, we've got our movies. Ooh, I deleted the wrong value. Okay, let's see if we edit. Yes, we can edit. We still want to keep our dates. So it was 6. We click on go. We also select this on edit. This was 5. We click on go. Okay, at least now we are at a specific location. Let me just copy that information so that we have a copy of how these elements are actually used. So we come here and we've got our movies and the title. So we want to get to our rental. So our rental should then have us give the following. So the rental ID would be 1. The rental title will be Titanic. The customer ID would be 1, if I'm not mistaken. The rental fee can be $20, and the penalty fee can be 0. So we click on go, and then now we have a rental. We are saying the rental ID is 1, the rental title is Titanic, the customer ID is 1, the rental fee is 20, and there is no penalty. However, on this particular one, I think this is where we needed to add an extra column to state that we want a date that it was rented. So we can click on change, and then we add after penalty fee, and then here we put date rented. We click on save, and then we go to our rental again. We now need to enter the date this was rented. So if we go to our movies, I'm sure it will tell us the date. The Titanic was rented on the 6th of October 2022. So we go to our rental, we edit, okay, this needs to be changed. Rental, let's change this, and we need this to be a date. We'll remove that, click on save. We'll also work with alter table. And now we need to change the date and put that as 6. Click on go, and we're good to go. At the same time, we need to then verify that customer 1 is the person who rented the Titanic. Let's see, customer 1, yes, rented Titanic. Customer 2, rented H. So let's go to our rentals again. We want to insert into our rentals. We put the rental ID as 2, and this was done by customer 2. This was on the 6th. The rental was 20. The rental title was H. Click on go. Okay, we also need to make sure that for the penalty, we've got a value. Click on go, and then we are good to go. So now our rental has our information being consistent, although here we've made a mistake. One of them was done on the 5th. Let's just see on our movies. The 5th was the second value. Okay, so we want to edit our second value and change this to the 5th. So we click on go, and then we are good to go. So basically what we have done is we've added our information. The last bit is the rented date. rented date, movie title, customer ID, date returned. Okay, that's what we need here. So we need to change date returned, and then we need to make that a date. Click on save, and then we're good to go. So now we want to enter our rental details. So we go to insert, we then pick the date rented, and this should have been the Titanic. Customer ID was 1. Date returned was the 7th. Okay. The next one was the date borrowed was the 5th. The movie title was Hitch. The customer ID was 2. And then the date returned was the 6th. Okay. Click on go, and then we are good to go. So basically what we've done is we've entered information as what to be. But given this as our database, we are simply trying to eventually come up with a fully functional database that is normalized. So this is where normalization comes in. We're then saying, instead of us entering information this way, we need to have everything normalized to get to the place where we want to get to. So the first thing that we need to do is, for us to get our database in a normalized form, we need to have a primary key. Our primary key then becomes our identifying fact for each table that we're working with. However, if our primary key then shows up in another table, for example, in our rental table, our customer ID still remains a primary key, but in this particular instance, it becomes a foreign key because it's a key from another table that we're using to match with this table. That's the next set or step of our work. But however, we can also eventually come up with a candidate key. So what we are then saying is, if we've got information, we then want to say whatever keys we're working with, we want to create and use for the benefit of maintaining our database in a normal form or in a normal state. So as we are working on normalization, we'll then be making our database more user-friendly and more efficient. And at the same time, each and every time that we're working with these select processes, we can be able to then create a faster and more proactive database.